Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told how to voice radio, so today we're going to be having a look at some of the little Pokemon from the upcoming Sun and Moon 6 Forbidden Light expansion. And I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, some of these little Pokemon are really, really good. I was genuinely surprised. I was looking through the list on PokeBeach.com and looking through them all, and I was like, yowza! Several of these are really good. So today we're going to have a quick look, and we're going to start off with Scatterbug and Scatterbug. Now, Scatterbug will eventually evolve into Vivillon. Unfortunately, we do not have a translation of Vivillon right now. I'll do a video about that when it is revealed. But we've got two Scatterbug. Now, first of all, the HP here is pitiful on both of them. One's got 30 HP, one's got 40 HP, neither of that is particularly impressive. But the 30 HP Scatterbug's got an ability. If you go second, during your first turn, you can use this ability. So you can only use it going second on your first turn. Search your deck for a Spupa, middle evolution, and Vivillon and put them into your hand. And you might be thinking, hang on a second, that's a useful ability, but it gets better. Because the 40 HP Scatterbug, for 1 grass energy, flip a coin. If heads, search your deck for a Vivillon and play it onto this Pokemon to evolve it. Now, as always, we can use Victini here to turn our 50% chance of this working into a 75% chance of this working, which still isn't perfect, but it's pretty nice. It's like searching for a rare candy and a Vivillon and using them both, except you don't have to put the rare candy in the discard pile, and you don't have to wait a turn, so the Vivillion's just sitting there. One of the worst things about Scatterbug is it's appallingly low HP. So what you do here is you go, okay, well now I've gone straight up to a stage 2 Vivillon, my 40 HP doesn't really matter. Of course, the 30 HP Scatterbug, I like the ability, but with Buzzwole running around doing 30 damage to a bench Pokemon, you can't play it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not good. Now, the next Pokemon we need to have a quick look at is the Bergmite. Now, Bergmite evolves into Avalugg. Avalugg is another card from Sun and Moon 6 that we haven't seen. We don't have a translation. But it's got a great attack for 1 water energy. 10 damage, discard a stadium in play. If you do, the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed. Automatic paralysis by discarding a stadium. This is lovely. I mean, you could just do something here like drop a Parallel City, force your opponent to discard a couple of their bench Pokemon, then discard it to leave them paralyzed as well. I'm not saying you're going to play Bergmite by itself. I'm not saying Bergmite is going to be a Pokemon that you build a deck around. But if Avalugg is any good whatsoever, this is a great starting Pokemon because automatic paralysis is not one of these flip a coin if heads they're paralyzed, Pikachu. This, you know whether you're getting the paralysis or not, and it's always nice to not have to rely on a coin flip. And then we've got some of these sword and shield malarkeys going on. Now, there are a couple of Honedge coming in the next set, and it's a little bit awkward. Because you see, one of them's got 60 HP and one of them's got 50 HP. And generally speaking, 60 HP is a lot better than 50 HP. And I've talked about this in a bunch of videos lately. But essentially, we've got things like Buzzwole running around, and we've got Tapu Koko that hits 20 to every Pokemon. And 50 often means you would get KO'd in a situation where 60 would lead to your survival. Okay, that's not great. But the ability on the 50 HP Honedge is great. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, put 3 damage counters onto the attacking Pokemon. Now, this is very similar to the old Voltorb with 2 key differences. Number 1, you're dropping 3 damage counters, not 5. Number 2, Voltorb did it on a coin flip. This does it automatically. This could be fun. This could be a really good, useful Pokemon in terms of just getting some extra damage on the board. Nobody wants their Pokemon getting KO'd. But if you can do a bit of damage while you're doing it, it ain't half bad, ladies and gentlemen. That ain't half bad. And there's even a Doublade here, which is actually quite interesting as well. Doublade here 1 Psychic Energy, put 3 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon that have any Pokemon tools attached to them. Now, in a format where most Pokemon end up with either a Choice Band or a Floatstone on them at some point, this is essentially going to do one of 2 things. Either your opponent is going to not put tools on to try and avoid this damage, in which case we're back in that classic position of your opponent slowing themselves down to slow you down, in which case you're winning that exchange, or your opponent is taking a whole bunch of damage. Now, Aegislash is alright, we did a video about that, I'll pop a link in the description, if I remember, which I'm hoping I do. But you know what? Just in terms of having a Pokemon do a little bit of extra damage here, and just in terms of having some half-decent evolution Pokemon, this is pretty nice. I mean, Alolan Ninetales GX is a decent Pokemon that's seen a whole bunch of play, but the fact that it evolves from Alolan Vulpix, which has a Redonkulous Beacon attack, really doesn't hurt things at all. And the last Pokemon I want to talk about at the moment are Flabebe. Flabebe, we got a couple of these coming, and they're both kind of interesting. Now, again, not unlike Scatterbug we looked at earlier, we're looking at either 30 or 40 HP, either of which is terrible and appalling and incredibly low and embarrassing and sadness-inducing. But let's get past that for a second, because they're both kind of interesting. The 30 HP one seems low, but if you go second, on your first turn, you can evolve it. That's quite nice. Now, it means that if you don't evolve it, you've got a 30 HP Pokemon sitting somewhere on your field, and like we've said a minute ago, with Buzzwole running around at the moment, you can't put a 30 HP Pokemon on your bench. That is not good enough. But what I will tell you is, this is a good ability, and it means you can go straight up to Floette on the first turn of the game. Floette does not have that same ability, unfortunately, so you cannot go straight into Florges. Florges has an amazing ability that allows you to flip a coin if heads, take an item card from your discard pile, and put it into your hand, on top of your deck. I did do a video about that one as well, I'll pop a link in the description. So, again, it's not amazing, but it's a really nice ability that we didn't have to have. The other Flabebe here just has an attack for a single fairy energy. It's super odd. Put 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy from your discard pile back into your deck. It's literally super odd, or if you've been playing for a long time, it's night maintenance. It's cool. It's good. Super Odd's actually being rotated, we imagine, in September, but just to be clear, you can't play a 40 HP Pokemon and actually use the attack here just to have the effect of a Super Odd. That's asking too much. It's not going to happen. Now, I did say that was the last one. I did, of course, forget about Tyrunt, and we need to talk about Tyrunt here. Now, the reason we need to talk about Tyrunt, I did a video about Tyrantrum, and again, I'll pop a link to that one in the description. And Tyrantrum's got a really nice ability, which says that if you've got the same number of Pokemon in play as your opponent, or fewer, then you take 30 less from attacks and do 60 more with your attacks. But the attacks on Tyrantrum, or the only attack, is very expensive, and I said what you really want to do here is use a Shining Celebi and copy the attack of a Tyrunt if Tyrunt has a decent single energy attack, and it does. 1 fighting energy, 20 damage, flip a coin. If heads, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. This, ladies and gentlemen, is incredibly good, because if you've got the same number of Pokemon in play or fewer than your opponent, then that means you're actually doing 80 damage for 1 energy. Flip a coin if heads, discard an energy attached to them, on a Pokemon that's got 160 HP and takes 30 less from attacks. This could be an awful lot of fun. I think Tyrantrum is a little bit expensive, but with Shining Celebi and Tyrunt, this actually has a little bit of potential here to be kind of interesting as a fun little rogue deck. And as a side note, we now can see that it does evolve from Unidentified Fossil, which is interesting because Unidentified Fossil does not have a jaw fossil picture on it. Which is a bit weird, but hey-ho, it means that for the near future, all fossil Pokemon are just going to evolve from the same card, which does open up some possibilities to mix them together into decks. Now, I know I've said a couple of times that the last Pokemon was the last one, but this one is actually the last one, because you see, between recording the audio for this and actually getting around to edit it, the lovely Antoine Boulay sent me a translation of the new Goomy. Now, we've done a video on Goodra, I'll pop a link to that one in the description with all the others, but it's got a really fun ability. If it's in the active, your opponent's Pokemon's attacks cost 1 colourless energy more. Now, you're not going to win the game doing 10 damage for 1 fairy energy, but you stick Goomy up in the active, and maybe your opponent's got a Tapu Koko and a double colourless, well, that's not going to be enough, or a Zoroark and a double colourless. You know, making your opponent use 2 double colourless energy just to get a KO on a 60 HP Goomy with a Zoroark could be quite a bit of fun. But I had to chuck this one on the end because it's got a really nice ability, and I wanted you guys to know about it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the little Pokemon you need to know about from the upcoming Forbidden Light expansion. It's fun. There's some really good ones there. There's some Pokemon you need to be aware of, and some Pokemon that are going to be really good. As before, when we have a full set list, when the set comes out, we will do a full video looking at whether these basics are better or worse than their existing counterparts, like we did for Ultra Prism. But I thought, since there were so many of these evolving Pokemon that really did have fun little abilities or attacks, it was worth taking a quick look at them now. But as always, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about these little Pokemon? Do you think any of them make any of their bigger cousins a bit more playable? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter or the Wossy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, you can do so by going to patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.